What we need next are some buttons that will go directly to our golf, football, and basketball animations. And instead of building the buttons, let's take a look at another panel under the Windows pull-down menu. You can see we have a section called Common Libraries, and these libraries contain some common objects that you can just use whenever you need. We'll open up the button one, and we can see that it's a separate library panel filled just with button elements. As you can see, there's quite a few to choose from. I'm looking for the ones in the Buttons Tube folder here. And if I scroll down just a little bit, we can pick out the Tube Yellow. Now, you can get an idea of what kind of button it is. We've got some graphics all set up in here, and we've got some other different colors. I think yellow will go good with our background. And to use it, all we need to do is select a layer and drag it out just like any other library. Now, I think we've got a sports layer up here. It's right down on the bottom. Let me scroll down just a little bit, and I'm going to select that sports layer and make it active, and then I'm going to drag out a Tube Yellow button right here onto the stage. Now let's zoom in on that and see what it looks like. I'll go up to about 200%, and if I get my library panel out of the way, I'm just going to dock it right back in with the other tool sets, and there we can get a really good look at our button. We've got a nice graphic with some border edges and a text label. And if we take a look at this by double-clicking on it, we can see that this button is built just like any other. Let me back out to scene 1, and what I'd like to do is use this button for the golf, basketball, and the football sections. So that means I'm going to need 3 copies. We can either go to our library and drag out 3 more copies, or I can do a quick shortcut right here on the stage. I'm going to hold down my Option key on the Macintosh here, and that would be the Alt key on the PC. And when I click and drag this, instead of moving the original, I'll actually create a copy. I'll just do it again, and I've got 3 buttons. Now let's just test everything and see how it's working. I'm going to go to my control panel. We'll do a quick test movie. And we should see that our buttons have these nice rollovers already built into them. I can see kind of a white glow, and the graphics change just a little bit and brighten up. And that looks pretty good, especially since we didn't have to build them ourselves. I don't want them all to say enter though, so I'm just going to double click on them. Now, it doesn't really matter which one because they're all the same library item. I can double click on one and open it up, and we can see that the text is included in a layer right up here at the top. It only has a keyframe on the up frame, so it's not changing in the over and down states. Since I'd like to use this button 3 times, what I'm going to do is just completely delete that text layer. We'll click our trash can icon down on the bottom, and it's gone. Now this is actually a great way to reuse a button since it doesn't have a label now. Of course, we'll need one, so let's put one back in scene 1. We'll go outside the button, and in the sports layer here, I think we're still in the right spot, yep, we will add a label right on top of the button. Now let's just go over and choose our text tool. I'm going to switch to a black colored fill, and I'll leave my font settings alone. You can use any font you want here, just like before. I'm going to set it up as center aligned, and note that we're just going to stick with classic static text. I'll just click over in the middle of my button field, and we'll type the label for the first button, Golf. Let me get to my normal selection tool, and we'll pull that down just a little bit. Now, this will look the same to our users as if the button actually had the label inside of it, but we can just place the label on top of each one and change it. There is one thing that you want to watch whenever you set up a button like this, and that is a property down here with this button that looks like an AB. This button allows your text to be selectable. Now, that's actually good if you want your user to select a block of text and copy it or paste it someplace. But for a button, we don't want that interfering with the button behavior and the click. So we'll just make sure that selectable is left off. Now, I need a couple more labels. Why don't we use our Option or Alt drag trick to make copies? I'm going to hold Option down here on the Mac, and of course that would be Alt key on the PC. I'll grab that text we just made, and I'll just drag a copy down and let go, and we've made 1 copy, and let's do it again. Now I can just double click in those fields, select the text, and type in a different label. This one's going to be football. And this one will be basketball. Now it looks like my text is a little bit big, so I'm going to select all 3 of them to make sure that we make the same changes. And I'm just going to go over here and knock the size down just by a point or 2. Notice we can change all three fields at once, and I can even grab them while we have them selected and move them down just a little bit so that they fit right into the middle of those buttons. Now let's just test out our new buttons and see if everything's working good. We'll test our movie. There's our buttons, and you can see that the labels look like they're right on the button just like before, and we get to use the same button 3 times instead of making 3 separate ones.